I think I took with me from Vienna a certain philosophy which helped me here. And when I looked at Jerusalem and the differences in people, I came to the conclusion that you could run a peaceful city only by a very high amount of tolerance. My only effort was to get normal, decent, neighborly relationship in the city. And I think this was achievable and is still achievable. I became mayor and I stuck to it for 28 years. It was, of course, a divided city. Great parts of the city you couldn't visit because people shot from the other side. It was the poorest possible city. It was cut off for a long time through a siege. I had hoped, of course, that the city would become one by peaceful means, by children playing on the frontier or so. It became eventually one city during the Six-Day War. I became a mayor of a complete city, but a very difficult city. 40 different Christian denominations, 75,000 Arabs, who were not always very lovingly related. I think in the end we'll have peace here. I don't think it will come fast, even if these agreements are carried out, and new agreements will be carried out. The hatred is too deep, and it has to evaporate over time. But I have no doubt about the end result. The end result will be peace. The citadel was first built by Herod about the time of Christ. And when the Romans came and destroyed the city, they didn't destroy the citadel because they wanted to continue using it as a strong point for their army. And since then, it has always been used for military purposes. The tower now, this one and that one, as you see it, has been built by Suleiman the Magnificent 500 years ago. Down below, if you look, you will see much bigger stones. Those are still the remnants of Herod. When we, in this case, the Israelis, came here in '67, it was a Jordanian army post. And we decided to try to turn it into something civilian, to use it as a museum of the history of Jerusalem. I was born on the 27th of May of 1911. It was in a small Hungarian village where my father had an assignment. It was a large estate that belonged to the Rothschilds. He had been working for the Rothschilds in Vienna, and he spent some time there on this estate. Within months, and I don't remember that period at all, we returned to Vienna, and I regard myself for all practical purposes, for good or bad, a Viennese. I grew up in Vienna, and when the war started, in 1914, my father, who had gone to university, as every university student, was a reserve officer in the Austrian army, and he joined the army. In 1918, At the end of the war, my father went back to work for the Rothschilds. That was, of course, in Vienna. And we went back to Vienna and we rented a house where we lived, where my parents lived until they left for Palestine in 1938. Nothing has changed here. These are all the same buildings that were here at the time. We lit candles on Friday evenings. We went on all the holidays to a nearby synagogue. We kept more or less a kosher house. I don't know how strict, but certainly nothing definitely non-kosher would have ever entered the house. And my father was what you then called religious, not what you call today. This was a more liberal religious attitude and is today customary. But I remember Oberrabbiner Chayes very well. He was a very impressive personality. He was a great Zionist. He was the chairman of the Zionist Actions Committee. Not all rabbis were Zionists. He was an exception. And I think his influence was much later. I had lessons before my bar mitzvah. To the shock of my parents and all the others, at the end of my prepared rasha, I said I would like to add something. And I added the fact that I belonged to a youth movement and we wanted such a boat. And I would be very happy if we could get contributions for it. And we did, and we were able to buy the boat.
Was it your first fundraising action?
Absolutely. Lueger was long before my time. He was a very famous mayor who did very much for the development of Vienna. And that was his major achievement, of course. But at that time, you had the beginning of anti-Semitism, because it was the time of emancipation, and Jews started penetrating the society, and that created the anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism was a social anti-Semitism, not a violent anti-Semitism. But he was the symbol of it, and so to say, the father of this kind of anti-Semitism in Austria.